Rather join us in podcast form, by all means, just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman and you're dialed in. Well, here we go. No Bengals this year, first time in 3 years. But the wild card weekend will still take place, believe it or not. It officially begins tomorrow afternoon. 6 games total over the weekend. 4:30 tomorrow, the Brownies head to Houston to take on the Texans. Can 38-year-old quarterback Joe Flacco lead Cleveland in a big playoff run? How will C.J. Stroud handle the bright lights of the postseason? For Cleveland, they got some bad news yesterday. Star cornerback, former Buckeye Denzel Ward, he's been nicked up all year long. Apparently injured his knee in practice, and his status for this one is TBD. Tomorrow night, behind the paywall, known as Peacock.
Terrible.
I used to love peacocks, the beautiful colors, the feathers.
Yeah.
Now I don't know anymore. The Miami Dolphins travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Miami, as we've talked about, they've lost 9 straight games with temperatures under 40 degrees. The temperature at kickoff is expected to be close to 0 tomorrow night in KC. At 4:30 on Fox, the NFC East champion Dallas Cowboys play at Jerry World against the Green Bay Packers. This one features 2 of the hottest quarterbacks in all the NFL, Dak Prescott against Jordan Love. At 1 o'clock on Sunday, you got the Bills. They're talking about snow and wind and all kinds of crazy weather there. The Bills, of course, hosting the Men of Steel. The nightcap Sunday has Matthew Stafford coming back to Detroit. His LA Rams battle the Lions. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff on NBC. And lastly, we have a playoff game Monday night. The defending NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles look to try and right the ship at NFC champion, South champion, Tampa Bay. Jerrod Mayo expected to be named head coach in New England today. Of course, he replaces 6-time Super Bowl champion Bill Belichick, who had that job since the year 2000. Ohio State star wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. made it official. He'll enter the NFL draft. Meanwhile, star teammate Emeka Egbuka says he will return. It has been a monster offseason for Ohio State in both the transfer portal and the college recruiting trail. College basketball. Boy, we are Mick Cronin fans on this show. Big time. Love the guy. But these are rough. Tough sledding going on for the Bruins. Last night, they lose for the 8th time in their last 9 games. Last night, downright embarrassing. They fall to Utah by 46 points. Cronin, in his first 3 years at UCLA, has led the Bruins to 3 straight Sweet 16 appearances and 1 Final Four. This weekend on the hard court, UC travels to Waco. 8 o'clock tip against number 14 Baylor. That one on ESPN. Xavier plays at Providence in the Big East. 2 p.m. tip, FS1. NKU at Detroit tomorrow. Miami hosts Eastern Michigan at Millett Hall. Number 6 Kentucky. They got it going on. 2 o'clock tip-off at Texas A&M, that game on ESPN. And baseball news, the Reds avoid salary arbitration with a number of their young players yesterday, including Tyler Stevenson, Jake Fraley, Lucas Sims, along with Alex Young and TJ Antone earlier in the week. One obvious name not on that list is Jonathan India. It appears he's headed to a hearing against the Reds in late January, early February. The team did sign former Moeller High standout Brent Suter to a 2-year contract. The lefty reliever has pitched well in his career. His whole career was in Milwaukee until last year with Colorado. And it was reported yesterday that 3 teams are interested in longtime Red star Joey Votto. Apparently it's 4. That's according to Votto's post yesterday on X.
The Care Bears.
Yeah, Care Bears. What does that? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I'm going to ask my dad what that means. Let's bring in the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman. He is very active on X. Our buddy Elon Musk. Do you have any? Did you see the Votto tweet? Do you know what that means? I'm not being facetious when I ask that question. What is Care Bear? What does that mean?
I don't know. I have no idea what that means.
Do any of you guys know?
I have no clue.
Do you know, Reid, what Care Bear? I mean, what is Care Bear a TV show?
It was a TV show probably when you were in your formative years, Thom. Like
Unlikely in my
No,
formative
that's-
years. No, there was cave drawings back then
It was
in my
like
formative years.
in the 80s. It was a TV show, and he's the
That's
grumpy
not
bear. Joey's the grumpy bear.
Let me say this. I know what Care Bears are because and actually Reed's wrong as usual. The Care Bears come from a period when Ashley, excuse me, was a little girl, and we bought them. You could buy them with all sorts of little designs, rainbows, and the sun coming up, and all this stuff. It was a way of making a lot of money for some multimillionaire, and Ashley was into it. And then they did have a TV show. That's exactly correct. I have no idea how it relates to Joey Votto, how it relates to Twitter. I have no idea.
Okay. Let me ask you, though, about Votto for a minute, because we were talking about this yesterday. And, look, you don't talk to him. I don't talk to him. Nobody around here talks to him. I don't know who does talk to him. There are people that do, obviously. He has a great relationship with most of the media in town. But he's not talking much at all about what teams are the teams that are interested in him. He says there's 4, not 3. Do you think this is going to be a situation where Votto has to decide, look, he feels like he has some good baseball left in him, and I'm not going to sit here and be the judge as to whether he does or doesn't. I hope he does have some good baseball left in him. I think it's good for the game if he's good and back playing well again. But do you think this is a situation that he's going to have to decide whether he wants to go to maybe a very serious contending playoff team and not play as much? Or could you see him signing a 1-year deal with somebody like the Pirates to get his career back on track?
I would be shocked if he signed with a team like Pittsburgh. I'm not in any way putting Pittsburgh down, but I think his druthers are to play with a team that has a chance of getting to the postseason, and then you take what you can get after that. And I don't believe that he would go to Pittsburgh to try and resurrect his career because, damn, he's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Whatever he thinks about resurrection, that boat sailed a long time ago in the eyes of major league officials who have the power to say, yes, we're interested, or no, we're not. This has got to be unequivocally, I would think, the last year that Joey plays, if in fact he does. But if I were him, I would certainly be much more interested in a team that's going to allow me to be a part of something maybe special down the road. Although the rumors were that the reason why the Reds and Joey were not able to come together on some kind of contract that would keep him in a Reds uniform was because he wanted to play a lot. And the Reds simply did not have that option open to him because of all the young talent they have. But I still would think he'd want to go to a club. I mean, obviously, still in all, at the end of the day, we've talked about it for weeks now, where he might end up. My feeling is, as always, it's going to be Toronto at the end, if in fact they do have interest, and I have to believe they do.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it the other day about how basically the guy who did what he conceivably would be asked to do in Toronto, Brandon Belt, is no longer there. So we'll
That's
see
correct.
How it plays out for Votto, and everybody's rooting for him to play for somebody that maybe comes back to Great American Ballpark next summer because they never had a chance to give him a formal, if you will, goodbye. And I think that would be something that would be really cool for this upcoming summer, and the Reds people will be all over that. All right, let's shift gears to the current Reds. Let's start with Brent Suter. You and I have known this young man for a long, long time. Comes out of Moeller High School. Saw him come up with Milwaukee. Whatever you ask him to do, he does it really, really well when he's healthy, Dad. And he stayed healthy the last 3 years, primarily, almost exclusively, as a relief pitcher.
I am thrilled to death about this addition on this club. As you and I both know, there is no classier guy playing Major League Baseball today than Brent Suter. And I use an example about the work he's done with the Joe Nuxhall Foundation out in Hamilton. He's a classy young man, and I think he's a guy who can help this ball club. So I applaud Nick Kroll for signing him, and we operate obviously under the assumption that he still has gasoline in his tank, and I got to believe if he's healthy, he does. So I think this is a major pickup that's going to just enhance the upward quality, if you will, of that bullpen in 2024.
You know, I talk all the time about how I think oftentimes in baseball, Dad, when teams get a reliever, and I always use the David Weathers example here in this town. You've been around a heck of a lot longer than me, but I mean, guys that pitch in 50, 60, 70, 80 games even sometimes and come out of that bullpen seemingly night after night, and their ERA is in the low threes or the mid threes. And in Suter's case last year, you know, you look at this guy pitching in Colorado of all places. Now it's not the Colorado it used to be, but I mean, in 57 games, a 3.3 ERA in almost 70 innings. That's a hell of a
Big
year.
time.
And his ERA every year he's healthy is in the low to mid threes.
No, I don't think there's any question about that. You post an ERA like that in Colorado, and I agree with you. It's not like it used to be, but it's still a mile above sea level. And so that ball is going to fly in that ballpark. And for him to work in 57 games, I don't know how many of them were, at Coors Field, but at the same time, the ERA is the ERA. And so I go back to what I said. I think it's a tremendous pickup. He adds a veteran presence in essentially a young bullpen. We talk so much about the rotation being young, but that bullpen is pretty young too. And now you got a guy who's been around the block, has pitched well in the big leagues. As I said, he is as classy a guy that has ever put on a baseball uniform. He will be a major influence on the young guys in that Cincinnati bullpen.
I tell you what, I know that recently there was some publication, I can't remember which one it was, but ranked on paper starting rotations around the major leagues, and the Reds were slotted at 5th. Of course, a lot of that, Dad, and we've talked about it before, a lot of that is based on hope and potential of what so many young guys can do. But since you were last on the program, they went out and signed the former Yankee, Frankie Montas, to a one-year deal. They're rolling the dice on him. But, hey, this is a kind of move that the Reds have not made in the past, rolling the dice on a guy like this.
Well, they roll the dice on a lot of guys.
Yeah, but not to the tune of
$16
million.
No, and that amount of money tells me that in the minds of their baseball people, there is no question but that his arm and shoulder are sound. I can't imagine that they would spend $16 million of Bob Castellini's money and there be just a scintilla of doubt that that arm is not sound. So I got to operate under that assumption. And what they're obviously hoping for is that he can turn the clock back to what he did in 2021 when he had a sensational year with the Oakland Athletics and I think finished 5th or 6th in the Cy Young Award voting. That would be a major step in terms of uplifting this young starting rotation, and I really have to believe that they did their due diligence, which clubs always do when they're trying to sign a guy who has had some physical problems in recent years. And I think he's checked all the boxes in terms of allaying any concern that they have that he's not ready to pitch, and I think that's got a chance to be a big pickup for this club.
You know, at the end of the day, and look, the Dodgers went out and spent literally over $1 billion. So, you sort of separate them from everybody else. But outside of that, and really as far as just improving your team, I think you can include the Dodgers. The Reds have had as good an offseason as anybody there is in the major leagues. Now, we'll see how it pans out. But, I mean, for those 2 years ago that were wondering, and those for a number of years that were wondering if the franchise is committed to winning, they certainly are going about it the right way this offseason.
No, I don't think anybody can doubt that. Now, if some of this doesn't work out, I think those guys that are willing to condemn at every small negative that may crop up, they have to remember that you sign guys and then you hope that things work out. And you sign guys with confidence and you feel like they're going to help your club. And for whatever the reason, things occur that are unexpected. And if that's the case, it's not a matter of beating up on the front office, because I think this club has put its money where its mouth is in going out to do what they've done in a bid to make this a major impactful club in 2024. But what I find interesting, Tom, is that some of these gambling outfits in Las Vegas that are setting the odds for teams winning, there are a couple of these outfits out there that have picked this club to finish 4th in the National League Central Division.
Yeah.
And I don't – it's hard for me to grasp that simply because at one side of their mouth they talk about major questions and can the young kids on this club reproduce or exceed what they did in their rookie years, but then they turn around, just as you said a moment ago, and they rank the starting rotation third or fourth or fifth or whatever it is in all of Major League Baseball. That's a major contradiction right there. So what in the hell they're thinking of in picking this team to finish fourth, and these odds were set and predictions were set before the Cubs did anything. They've acquired Michael Busch. He's a major question because he's not been a big leaguer. Cardinals have not brought him up. He's had great minor league stats. They signed the Asian kid, the pitcher, just a day or so ago. But all these predictions were set before the Cubs had done a damn thing. So I don't understand what their thinking is. And, maybe at the end of the day, they'll be right. And if they are, there's going to be more hell raised in this town than you can imagine.
Well, it's interesting you bring up that and how some have picked them to finish, as you mentioned, fourth in the standings. There's been very little wiggle room, even after all of these signings, on where they have the Reds on an over-under. So whether you're talking about, in terms of wins. So I think they're at what, Ellie, 82.5? 82.5. I mean, 82.5 is a 500 team. And I look at the Reds, and I think it has to all come down to it's one thing to be excited and optimistic and all those kinds of things and have hope. But, for me, it all comes down to I think their position players look like they're going to be fine. There'll be some guys that stub their toe here and there. But it all comes down to, at the end of the day, these pitchers. Because, whether it's in effectiveness, whether it's in consistency, they've been young, whether it's injuries, how far can they pitch into the season? Because of the injuries setting back their innings limit as we move forward. I think that's the primary reason we're seeing either them getting picked fourth or fifth, or fourth, not fifth, or their win total, even after all the signings. Very little change in Vegas. You think that's fair?
I think that's very fair. But I also think this, and when you talk about pitching and youth and all the rest of that stuff and what appears to be an improved bullpen, I'm going to be watching very closely, as I think a lot of people will, to see what impact David Bell is going to have on that rotation verbally in making them understand we simply, no questions asked, no excuses, have to have more innings out of you guys in 2024. And I don't think that is open to question. And if they come back with an excuse, that's exactly what the hell it is. Because if you're going to have a good bullpen, it's incumbent upon you as manager and Jerry Johnson, the pitching coach, to keep that bullpen healthy and effective every month of the season. Last year, it looked like when September rolled around, they were done. Stick a fork in them, they were done. And I think that one of the major keys to the success of this club in 2024 is that they simply get more innings out of their rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I used to get in healthy debates because I really respect him and I like him a lot, talking about Derek Johnson, the Reds pitching coach. But when I was doing the games, like you, I'm sure, you get very frustrated with Tyler Mahle. And I use him as an example of these other guys in the rotation and tying it in with what you're talking about. All of us kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting with the stuff that Mahle had. Now, look, his fastball may not be what Hunter Green's is. His changeup may not be what breaking ball what Nick Lodolo's is. But Tyler Mahle, when he came up, this guy had a pretty good assortment of pitches and good stuff, major league stuff. He was a 5-inning guy and has always been, if you were lucky, his whole career. And I didn't see any change in that. And I don't know what Derek Johnson could do. He doesn't throw pitches for him, or David Bell. But I'm just hoping that these young guys in this rotation don't turn out like that.
Well, a lot of that has to do, I think, in Mahle's case, he simply couldn't consistently throw strikes.
Yeah.
And so
neither can the rest of them.
Well, I agree with that. I agree 100% with that. If these guys these guys don't make an improvement in their ability to throw the ball over the plate where they want to throw it, then the desire to see them as a group pitch more innings this coming year than they have in previous years is going to go right down the sink, because it's not going to happen. So it boils down to being able to throw strikes. If they come to spring training and throughout the course of a 30-plus game schedule, we see improvement in that area, then I think you automatically then will assume that they're going to be around for more than 4 or 5 innings. And I'm hopeful that that's the case, because that just means your bullpen is going to be more effective for a longer period of time. The other part of it is staying healthy. I mean, we're going to find out in 2024 if these guys individually and collectively are guys that are going to go out and pitch without physical problems, without going on the disabled list, or are we going to find out that, you know what, one or more of these guys have to be categorized as China dolls. They simply can't stay healthy. And if that's the case, then this club has a problem.
Well, there are China dolls everywhere, as we know. I mean, they're
As
everywhere.
we know.
As we know,
Yeah.
they are everywhere.
You got some in that studio.
We do. I wonder where we'd start on that.
Yeah, where do you want
I
to
don't
start?
know.
Although you want to talk about a China doll, and I say this to my wife, so me saying this about Reid, based on his comment a minute ago in the chat that I saw, I always look at people who like, the weather affects their mood, right? I mean, come on. We wake up every day, it's sunny, it's snowy, it's rainy, it is what it is, right? You can't do a damn
Right.
thing about it. You're going to let that
Nothing.
dictate what kind of mood you're in for the rest of the day? Did I just read that?
Yeah, sure, Tom. That's exactly what it is. I think it's just a gloomy day. And
It is a gloomy day, but does that mean you have to be gloomy? That is borderline China doll material.
I am pretty good at acknowledging when I am not being rational, and I'm not being rational today. I'm just woke up in a grumpy mood. Marty, you've lived
What?
quite a many years, more than I have. How do you get through these cold months, these wet days? How do you keep your mood in such high spirits as you normally are through this terrible weather? Because I got to know I'm having a bad day.
That's very simple, Elliot. I mean, I hate cold weather, and I think there's a lot. I used to hear old guys saying, the older I get, the more I hate cold weather, and I just blew that off. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's a fact. I can't stand the way the weather is today, the way it's going to be tomorrow. Next week is going to be brutal. It's going to be a deep freeze for a week, but I don't let it affect my personality. The one thing I don't do when it gets excessive outside, I don't go. I mean, that's one of the benefits of being retired. I don't say. Amanda made the comment yesterday. She said, "You haven't left this house today, have you?" I said, "Absolutely not." And I got some more news for you. Ain't going to happen tomorrow either. So, I mean, I'm good with it. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, who are you asking the question? Reid, Elliot, Casey? Dad, say
Well,
hello,
no,
by the way.
I'm gonna
Say
ask
hello to
the
Lindsay.
question.
I want you to say hello real quick to Lindsay. Lindsay, say hello to my dad. Lindsay is interning with us from UC. She's from just outside of Columbus, Ohio. So
Very good.
She's with us now.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you, girl?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well. Be sure and tell Wes Miller I'm a big fan, being a Carolina guy as he is, and I'm thrilled about the way the Bearcats have played recently. And I'm tired of people calling me and saying, well, there's your Carolina guy. He can't coach. Say, hell, he can't. He's a good coach. He was a good coach when they hired him, and he's going to continue to be as long as they can keep him. Now, the question I have is, Tom, when you were going over the lineup of the games that will be played in the National Football League this weekend,
yes,
you obviously touched on, I think it's is it Kansas City and Miami on Peacock?
Yep.
And one of
Peacock.
Yeah, one of your guys injected into your talking about the games when you mentioned Peacock. Somebody said, terrible. Who said that?
That was me. That was me, Mr. Brennaman. How are you doing? I've missed you.
Who is that?
That's
This is Elliot.
It's your friend Elliot.
This is
Elliot?
This is your good friend.
Yeah, well, you know what? God bless you for saying that. I
agree?
really have to think 150,000%. And I would, if I'm around, I'll watch a game. I have an interest in it from a standpoint of how Miami's going to handle the cold weather. I heard that coach of theirs make a comment on a news conference yesterday. Somebody asked him about it, and he said, I don't know. He said, I've never been involved in a football game where the temperature was potentially 0. Well, that's really good. That's good message sent out to your football players now. But I just think that NBC's making a serious mistake in putting that game exclusively on Peacock. And I understand it's all about the almighty dollar, and that's just more money for Roger Goodell and the National Football League when they benevolently agreed to allow Peacock to have a game in the postseason. But I really think, as far as the fans are concerned, it's an example that the National Football League doesn't give a damn about their fans.
But the question is, many in the chat want to know, are you going to cough up, what is it, $5, $6, $7?
I think it's $7.
$7. Are you going to cough it up to watch it?
Not a chance. What time is that game?
That's at 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
When? Tomorrow night?
Yep.
Well, let's see. What time is that in Goodyear, Arizona? That's 6 o'clock. Probably will not watch that game tomorrow night. I'll be in a hotel. Yeah, so no. The answer is no.
So you're going out for the Reds fantasy camp.
I am.
And what do you do there? Do you just partake in giving people a bunch of heat and giving them shit and all that kind of thing? Is that the way that works?
See, here, they like for me to come out and I broadcast the championship game next Friday. Whoever the final 2 teams are left standing, Doug Flynn is my color guy.
Nice.
And I do the play-by-play that is just in the ballpark. It's piped out over the loudspeakers in the ballpark. And I dump all over these guys and say the worst things you could imagine about them, and they just think that's the greatest thing in the world. So I also take part in Kangaroo Court, which is one of the greatest things I've ever been a part of in my life. But honestly and seriously, I look forward to it every year. And, you know as well as anybody, Tom, the weather in Arizona and that part of the state in January is very iffy.
Yeah, very.
And I've learned the last 2 years, having gone out there in January for the fantasy camp, that you wake up in the morning, the temperature's 41, 42 degrees, and then it gets, by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it'll be up to 65 or 66 or 67, which is a hotter temperature there than it is here because of the intensity of the sun, which is fine. But I love to see the guys that are former players that come back. Most notably, I start with one of my all-time favorite people in Lenny Harris, and to spend a week there and be in the room where the players dress and listen to the conversations that go on. Lenny normally holds court every day when all the guys, the former Reds that are out there giving instruction and managing the teams are around. So it's really a very, very good week as far as I'm concerned, to be around those guys again and to talk to the campers. And I think it's just a special week. I really do.
The one guy here in our studio that I could see partaking down the road when he's old enough, because I don't think he's old enough. I'm sure he's not old enough yet, is Reid Maus. As you know, he played baseball collegiately at Bluffton. But unfortunately, I think, Reid, you would want to go to the Cubs fantasy camp.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of desire to go to a fantasy camp, but
you could do it. I mean, you're in good shape. You stay fit.
I'm sure it's fun, but yeah, I don't really have a whole. It seems like a fun little week, but yeah, not a whole lot of desire to go down there.
Would you go, Elliot?
No. I'd be the mascot. I'd be the team mascot. Maybe if the mascot's a silly little clown, I could dance for him. Marty,
you sure could.
Yeah, you're right. I could. Hey,
pal.
Marty, I got a question for you. I got 2 actually. One's a serious question for you. One's a non-serious. I'll start with the serious. You've been mentioning this. You've been mentioning the starters. I do agree with you. You have to stay healthy. Saying that, if they are healthy, you could make the argument that there's about 7 guys that could be fighting for those 5 spots. Would you see, or could you see the Reds moving Nick Lodolo or Brandon Williamson to the bullpen to start the year?
You know what? That's a good question, and I think that's a very real possibility. I really do. I think one of those 2 guys, I think Williamson would probably be more receptive to it than Lodolo might. But at the same time, if you're talking about, being a guy who is team first, then I think that's a real possibility. And I agree with you. They've got a lot of guys that are going to be battling for the rotation spots, some of whom, if that's not a plan, there are guys that could open the year in Louisville that pitched extensively up here in 2023. No, I think that's a very good question, and I salute you for asking an intelligent question. Nice job. Now let's hear the stupid one.
Okay, now here's a stupid one. There's been a lot of talk of Titanic in this studio. Thom likes to bring up the Titanic anytime something goes wrong in here. We've had Wi-Fi outages. I guess it's part
Well, I
of the,
canceled my dad the other day.
yeah, canceled your interview the other day. I guess it's part of the perks of living in Hamilton. You just don't get Wi-Fi or any internet service here in the town. But I'll tell you what, Marty, if you think about the Titanic, the film, I'm sure you've seen it. Do you think there was enough room on that driftwood for Jack? Would you have saved Jack if you were that girl? Would you have saved him? No, or was that
Not
just a stupid?
chance.
I agree with you.
Kiss that young man goodbye.
See you later, buddy. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I'll pick you up again in the home upstairs. That's right.
I like that.
See you, Jack.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
What in the world prompted you to ask him that question?
Well, we've been talking about the Titanic for 2 weeks now.
You've been talking about the
No,
Titanic.
Mentioned
You
the
talked,
mariachi band.
yeah, you
there
talked
was a
about
mariachi-
mariachi bands. You talked about Jack sinking on the wooden part of the ship,
the driftwood.
the driftwood. So I
Yep.
mean, nobody else is talking about the Titanic except for you and now my dad.
No, it's you. It's always you. And you Brennamans and your Titanic struggles. There's no Titanic struggle bigger than the actual Titanic struggling to stay afloat. I'd say that right now.
I like that, Elliot. That's
you.
good. That's good
Thank
stuff.
you. Anytime I can make you smile, Marty, it makes my month.
Well, you
makes
most
my entire
definitely
month.
have done that.
Thank you.
Most
Okay.
definitely have done it.
Casey, do you have anything for Mr. Brennaman today?
I don't have anything to
You
follow
don't?
up with that. No.
You don't?
No.
Dad,
Casey,
somebody...
you're bored with all this, aren't you?
Bored? No.
Yeah, he really
No.
is.
Okay.
He is. He is. He's just trying to keep this sinking Titanic afloat. Oh, did I just say that? Hey, now, let's shift gears here for a minute to basketball because you brought up Wes Miller.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll go down and see in person this winter? Because I know you'll go see your beloved Tar Heels, who look like they're getting their act together now. I mean, they're playing very, very well. They're right there with our guy, Cal. They got it going on 6, 7, 8 in the country. But do you think you will go down to see either Xavier or UC play in person this winter?
Probably not. But I watch them on television. I don't like big crowds. I don't like the hustle and bustle of getting into the stadium or getting into the field house or the Cintas Center or whatever the case it might be.
Yeah, but
It's
a
very
big
much-
leaguer like you could get a spot right next. I mean, let's be honest here now. I mean, you're not going to do what Elliott did the other night and spend an hour trying to park. I mean,
No.
a big leaguer like you, if they know you're coming down, like our friends John Burns over at Encore or somebody down at Cintas, at Xavier or whatever, I mean, they're going to make it where you just basically pull right up and you walk in the gate.
Well, you see, there's a mistake you make. And I cannot believe that my son would phrase a question dealing with my going down to see him play and it's who I am and all that crap. I don't call anybody and say, hey, this is Marty Brennaman. I need a couple of good seats.
I wasn't implying that. I wasn't
I don't
implying, and
do
if I
that.
did, I beg your pardon. I wasn't implying that you would pick up the phone and do that. But if your
No.
friend and mine, John Burns, right, who runs Encore,
Right.
he's a big UC
Correct.
guy, right?
He
If
is.
he were to call
Yes.
you up and say, "Hey, Marty, I got tickets to the in our Skybox or whatever it's called up here. Love to have you come down. They're taking on TCU, whoever it is, Oklahoma, whatever, right? And hey,
Right.
I'd love to come you down there." Now, there's a good chance somebody would set it up, not you, but somebody would set it up where, hey, by the way, you can park in that area right between Nippert and Fifth Third Arena, so you can just walk right in, and you're all good,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I would consider that.
Okay.
I would definitely consider that. But if it doesn't happen, I don't care because I can glean just like and I sat in John's box last season to watch the Bengals and Kansas City play at Paycor, and that's the first time I'd seen the Bengals play live since 1977, and I enjoyed it immensely. But I told Amanda one thing leaving. It may be another 40 years before I go back. I don't like the big crowds. I can see more and glean more. And I learned this by sitting in a private box at the football stadium, from sitting at home watching it on television, than I can down there. Because you're a long way from the field in one of those private boxes. And so you find yourself watching TV as much or more than you do watching the actual live action on the field. If I'm watching TV more than I'm watching the field, I might as well stay home and watch it.
Yeah. Good point. Gentlemen, anything else for Mr. Brennaman today?
No, I asked my stupid question. I'm good.
But you asked a good one. You got kudos for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you did. You really did. You guys
well,
acquitted yourselves very, very well today, and I'm impressed by that.
Wow, thank you.
Not that I believe it's going to be consistent, but I'm impressed by today, and today stands alone. God bless all of you.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere.
That is correct.
There's no doubt. You got to start somewhere. All right, well, safe travels to sunny Arizona. I hope it's sunny Arizona for you out there. And
I'll
tell
see
my
your mother-in-law while I'm out there.
mother-in-law, tell them all I said hello. All right?
I will.
All right, Godspeed.
Good being with you guys.
Time. All right.
You bet. Thank you.
All right.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Be good. All right. Good stuff there from the Hall of Famer, as always.
Always.
Boy, he said something nice about you today, Elliot.
That's the
I don't
first
know
time,
if
I
that's a
think. That was
first or
nice.
what the deal is.
What I'm gonna do, Tom, after the show, I'm gonna clip that out and I'm gonna tweet it, and it's gonna live on X.com forever that Marty Brennaman once said something nice about me. Anytime I can make him laugh, that's my only goal, Tom. I have one job per week, and that is to make him laugh just once. And I know I'm doing my job well.
You should get one of those picture frames that play videos.
Yes. Now we're talking.
And you should clip that out, put that on your nightstand, just so you hear "Good job, Elliot" from the Hall of Famer every night before you rest your little eyes.
I just need to be told good job by somebody. And if Marty's the one to do it, he's the one to do it.
Well, don't we tell you around here that you do a good job?
No.
Never.
No, you don't.
I don't?
No, you don't. And neither
So
does
when I
Reid,
say good
and neither
show
does
today,
Casey.
guys, good going. That's not saying good. Not saying good job. Is this like a learning moment that I have to have right now? Because
No,
I'm
there's no
open. I'm open.
No,
I'm
there's
open.
no learning
My
moment.
wife can tell me everything I do wrong for hours and hours, and she makes that a regular deal. So I am more than open for this kind of
Does
conversation.
she ever tell you what you do right?
That's the problem. That's the problem.
You can criticize.
That's the problem. And I say this all the time, and I try to tell you, you younger guys getting married or about to get married or whatever it might be, that is the problem right there. Is that, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it too. I'm not suggesting it's only the wife.
Right.
Right? I mean, maybe we don't compliment them enough on how they look or the things they do around the house or whatever it might be, things they're doing that are important to them with a charity that they work with, right? Any of those kinds of things. So that is something that us as men, we probably all need, me right at the top of the list, need to do better. I mean, I've been married to the same woman 23 years. And marriage ain't easy. It's not easy at all. But one thing that would go a long way in a successful marriage is to never lose sight of those things and to say them out loud. You might think them a lot,
Right.
but to say it.
Right. Listen, you can, if you only criticize and you don't give a claim or you don't give good jobs and stuff like that, then the criticism falls on deaf ears. You got to give and take. You got to give it.
Well, there's a lot at stake.
A lot.
It's like raising a dog, Tom. You bop them on the nose when they do something wrong. If you just keep bopping them on the nose and you never say, "Hey, good job."
See, I don't do that to my dog because he's the only friend I have around that house now that the kids are gone.
I'll move into your house right now, Tom. You got an empty.
You just told me I didn't tell you do a good job.
Yeah, but we can mend this.
You can
relationship
move in
real-
right
we can mend
now.
this- We can mend this relationship real quick. I'll move in. I'll take Luke's room. He's out of the house now.
Yep.
I will then become your son, your second son.
I'm all in.
And then we'll go from there.
I have said to my wife for years we ought to be adopting kids. So we
That's-
may as well bring in a young adult.
That's right. 24 years young.
How about me, Casey, and Elliot? We move in to your house,
Yeah.
I'm all good with that.
and then I'm sure you have a flag post outside. right?
Flag.
Like you have somewhere to post a flag?
American flag. We have one up constantly. It's so funny you say that
We'll
because
put
I was
another one
driving
up.
down my street today at 6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it made me think of it. Because sometimes when the kids come home, we'll put the TCU flag up or the Indiana flag up or both of them up, right?
Right.
But we constantly, all the time, have an American flag up. And for some reason, when I'm pulling out of my drive, I can't believe you just said this, that I'm pulling out today and I'm looking and our house had the flag. I'm like, gosh, my wife changed that out. And I'm like, there's an example of something I need to tell her. And I'm glad you did that. Thanks for doing that. It's important to me, right? And so for the first time ever, I'm driving down my street. And I'm looking at the houses that have an American flag up. So how many houses, if you include mine, and let's say from mine until you get to a stop sign, let's say there are 7 houses on each side of the street, okay? So let's call it 15 including ours. How many do you think have an American flag up?
15 houses.
I counted them today, so I know the answer to this question.
Well, it can't be 15. I'm not sure you can count that. 3.
I'm going to
3
say
houses.
5.
Casey?
About good old 7.
Okay. Lindsay, you have a guess? Out of 15, how many have an American flag?
4.
4?
4.
Answer's 8.
8.
Okay.
Half.
Hey, that's not enough.
Well, that's
You
pretty
don't think
good.
that's
Not enough.
I think that's pretty good,
Not
actually.
enough.
I
And I could have told you who the 8, the 7 that don't before I even got in the car.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
All you got to do is drive around in political season, and you'll know right away.
Reid flies the W flag outside of his house.
Yeah, I've flown a lot of flags outside my house, Tom. I've never flown an American flag outside my house. I fly a W flag. I fly
No, you don't.
a Bengals.
No, you don't.
Oh, yeah, I do.
So when the Cubbies win, like at Wrigley, you put up
It
W?
flies all baseball season. So during baseball season, the W flag's up.
Oh, my God.
When it's after baseball season, it goes to a Bengals flag. And then after the Bengals flag, we get into holiday season, so there's no flag out. Now there will be a Xavier flag flown outside my house until baseball season. So we got a little rotation.
And not to change the subject, but Noah in the chat would like some Supercross coverage. Do you have anything to say about Supercross?
I think Supercross is really cool.
I know only one Supercross. I know a couple of them, but my guy is Eli Tomac. Shout out to Eli Tomac. Again, I don't know. I forget what kind of bike he rides, but my uncle is a big fan, and he watches it. I don't watch it a lot, obviously, but I do watch it every once in a while, so I know him. There's a Hamilton guy in it, too, that's top 5 in the standings
right,
or whatever.
right.
But he won Supercross. We give him Supercross.
Okay, there we go.
In the city of sculpture,
Is
city of super.
it time for NFL now? May we discuss the NFL?
You didn't want to talk about NASCAR? Or?
No NASCAR. We stop it at Supercross.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
think there's some big games this weekend.
The joke I was going to make, Tom, about the flag being outside your house, I was like, me, Casey, and Elliot can move in.
Yeah.
Then we'll put a flag with some Greek letters out there. We'll have a frat house, just us 4.
I'm all in. We throw my wife out, and we can just let all hell break loose, right?
Right.
Man, the old days. Bring them back.
Just like Athens.
Bring them back. A-Town. Oh, boy. All right.
Gonna bring,
Steve from Chicago, Super Chat.
I'm going to bring you an L flag. You can fly that. We actually have the Cincinnati Reds flag from Wrigley Field.
That's right. Buddy of mine gave me that for, I think it was my 40th birthday. No, I can't remember what it was. Oh, no, he gave me that as a thank you for doing him a few favors many, many years ago. Mark Miser up in Columbus, Ohio. That was actually flew
That's what that is?
at Wrigley.
That's from Wrigley Field, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we fly it. So, Tom, while we're talking about baseball, and we'll talk a lot about the NFL in the second hour, you and your dad talked quite a bit about Brent Suter. Your overall opinions on the signing of Brent Suter?
I'm very, very excited about it. I like the kid a lot, and I like the pitcher a lot. I think that, my dad touched on something, and I didn't want to just sit there and talk about Suter the whole time. There are other things we wanted to get to, but and it ties in with what you're talking about, Elliot. What's interesting is I really believe that one of the biggest dilemmas the Reds are going to face this season is even if Green, Lodolo, Abbott, Ashcraft, not so much Williamson, but those guys. And by the way, before we go any further, just let me just say for the record on this show right now, and I did a 180 watching this guy during the year, and I'll probably be wrong, but I got to tell you, I think moving Williamson to the bullpen would be a bad idea. I think this guy's got a chance to be really good.
He's got good stuff.
I think he's got a chance. He's got moxie about him out there.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the ball. He doesn't break down. But that's for a different conversation, different time. But I think because one of the real challenges they're going to face, and look, they can be ranked on paper as one of the top 5, 6, 8 rotations in baseball. But the problem is going to be if they do stay healthy, and we pray they do. We pray for every player in every sport to stay healthy. These guys are going to be on an innings limit for this year. The only guy who stayed healthy all of last year, once they brought him up, was Williamson. He did not miss starts. Ashcraft was out a couple different times, right? Hunter Green was out for a long time. Lodolo basically missed the entire year. He had less than a handful of starts, shut him down with a leg problem. Abbott extended it last year, and, good for him. The kid's a gamer, and he said, I want to take the ball. I don't want to be shut down. But he was getting shut down by opponents because they were roughing him up big time. So I think one of the reasons you're seeing them bring in guys like Martinez, guys like now Suter, is because I think you're going to see David Bell early in the year manage this starting rotation and know that he can lean on a Suter or a Martinez to come in and pitch 2, 3, 4 innings in a game out of the bullpen. Now, you can't do that twice a week. But I think that's the game plan here. Because, look, Nick Krall and these guys know the deal. I'm not saying anything they don't know already. They know their starters are in a very touchy situation going into this season. I mean, Lodolo may not get to, even if he's healthy, they may not let him throw 120 innings this year. They might not. He has not been healthy for 2 years. Hunter Green has not been healthy for really 4 years. You go back to when he had the arm surgery.
Yep.
Now you're building him back up. He comes to the big leagues. He gets hurt. Last year, big leagues, hurt, out for 2 months. I mean, you've got 3 guys, if you include Ashcraft. And then there's Montas. They can say he's healthy.
Right.
Okay, but he's another guy.
Right.
Now, he's a veteran guy, been around a little while, been through, he's got a little more under his belt than the other guys. But he is coming off a major shoulder problem where he didn't pitch much. So I think that's why you're seeing them go out and get guys like Suter and Martinez and guys that are capable of giving you more than just 1 or even 2 innings out of the bullpen on any given night.
Yeah, in a rotation and a staff full of question marks, Suter and Martinez are a couple of periods, right? You know what you're going to get with those two. And I like to poke a lot of fun at the Cincinnati Reds, obviously, because I'm a Cubs fan. And there is quite literally no one in Major League Baseball I hate more than Brent Suter because he's a stand-up guy. I get all these things. But for some reason, watching Brent Suter come in the 7th and 8th inning when he played for the Milwaukee Brewers, and Anthony Rizzo and Kyle Schwarber go up to the plate, and they're facing a guy throwing 81 miles an hour, just flipping it up there. It drove me absolutely crazy every single time. He's a really good arm. And like I said, in a staff full of a lot of question marks, Brent Suter, Nick Martinez, guys like these are a couple of periods where you know you're going to get quality innings, and in a season where you got to get 14 and a half hundred innings over the course of a year, you know you're going to get quality innings from Brent Suter and guys like Nick Martinez.
And it is interesting to see that the bullpen was arguably the best part of the team last year. Certainly it was a top 10 bullpen in Major League Baseball. It
was from May until
it's still
through
finished,
August.
It still finished pretty good.
Okay, all right. The closer was terrible the last month.
He was
worn out.
But I don't think that was a result of really the bullpen. I think that was the result of starting pitching not being able to go 2 innings.
Well, of course.
But my point being that the Reds have now upgraded an already top 10 bullpen. I think, again, this comes down to the young guys. If Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, Noelvi Marte, Strand, Steer, if everybody can replicate what they did last year to some degree and maybe improve, definitely Ellie, I would like to see him improve. if that happens, this team is going to smash that 82.5 win total. Smash it. They have a chance to win 90 games this year. I firmly believe that. If they stay healthy and if they play up to the potential that they showed us last year.
The NL Central is so interesting because there's a lot of teams with, I believe, similar talent. Like, I truly believe, like the Reds, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers. I think Nick Kirby said this one time. When it comes to the NL Central, you could see any team winning it. You can see any team finishing in last place. And I truly believe that.
Well, I don't see the Pirates having any chance of winning it.
Listen, you guys can keep calling me crazy. The Pirates are closer than you might think.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, they won 75 games when their best player got hurt in April.
Can't argue
They won
that.
75 games with their best player coming in April. They have a top 5 farm system. The Cubs have the number 1 farm system. Obviously, the Cardinals have a couple of Hall of Famers that anchor the corners of their infield. The Brewers are on their last leg of their team's success. I truly can see any of these teams winning the NL Central. I can truly see any of the teams in the NL Central finishing in dead last.
It's fair. That's a fair comment. Nick Kirby jumped in, says, I wouldn't lump Ashcraft in there because most of his injuries have been fluky things. Look, I'm not bad-mouthing any of these guys. But the bottom line is he's missed time. Broken toe, stuff like that, whatever it is. The bottom line, that prevents you from pitching. And so if you pitched 140 innings in 1 year, they're not going to let you go 190 the next year. Even though a guy like Ashcraft's big, strong, tough guy, love his makeup, love his stuff. But I'm just saying, I think he will be included in that group where they will have an innings limit on him. Rather than just turning guys loose and say, here we go.
Right.
Let's go.
Right. Derby Stardom said Pirates might have the worst team in the NL. That might be true, but I'll ask the question. If the Cincinnati Reds, with a very good farm system and a lot of young players, can go from 61 wins or whatever they had 2 years ago to competing for a playoff spot last year, why can't the Pittsburgh Pirates, when they won 76 games last year without their best player on the field?
It's a great point.
Pittsburgh Pirates, me and Kirby are maybe alone in the take that the Pittsburgh Pirates are closer than a lot of people want to give them credit for.
If you want to die on that hill, you may go. Feel free to do so.
All right.
Yeah, even Nick Kirby's in your corner. Pirates.
Listen, I don't think that the Pirates
I
are
bet
going to win the World
anybody
Series.
any amount of money they want to bet.
Will you bet me that they
I'll
finish-
take the field and give you the Pirates, and I'll give you 10-1 odds on whatever you want to bet.
that the Pirates won't finish last place in the NL
No,
Central?
that that they won't win the division.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd bet everything that they won't.
I give you 30-1. If it was worth my while on a dollar amount, they ain't winning
I don't know
the
what
division.
their odds are.
They're not winning the
But
division.
like I said, if the Reds can compete for it after winning 61 games, and they have a good farm system, they got a lot of young players.
That's fair.
They won 76 last year. They won
That's fair.
76 games last year without O'Neal Cruz. So, listen, I think the Pirates are good. And I don't know what their odds are to win the NL Central, but it's probably closer to 30-1 like you were given.
Nick Kirby says, if I had a free $10 bet on a National League Central Division future, I'd put it on the Pirates.
Will you give me 3-1? I'll bet you 3-1. So I win $3 for every dollar you bet that the Pirates finish better than the Reds.
Oh, I'll take that bet.
All right.
I'll take that.
I'll take that bet.
There we go.
Okay.
We got 2 bets.
Okay, we're going to get to a break. We have some commercials to get to. And then the last hour, it's all about the National Football League. We got through the first, 9? Was that it?
10. We got the final 5.
We got the final 5 today. And again, for those of you that may not have been with us yesterday, I picked from 14th, which is the worst chance, to number 1, which is the best chance of reaching the Super Bowl among all the playoff teams. And we factored into this, who are the best teams? How many of them have potentially a number of home games, or maybe even more than one home game? All those, their road to get to a Super Bowl, clearly much tougher in the AFC than it appears to be in the NFC. It appears that way. Although, the more I think about it, if you were to take the top 2 teams in the AFC and the NFC, so you have the 49ers, and I think we all would agree with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then you take the top 2 teams in the AFC, with the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, right?
Right.
I'm not so sure because you're going to have to go through more than likely, barring 2 or 3 major upsets. You're going to have to go through those places to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not so sure that the NFC is not tougher in that regard, just the top 2, because Dallas is so good at home.
Yeah, not to spoil anything, but Dallas is 16-0 at home the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're incredible at home.
Who's the 2 seed? Are the Lions the 2 seed?
Dallas.
Dallas is.
Dallas
But I
2
think
seed.
it's much harder to play in the AFC, not because of the teams that they play, but the actual weather.
Yes, there's no doubt about that.
And I know that seems like a lame reason, but going to play in Baltimore in this weather, brutal. Buffalo right now has like a foot of snow in their stadium.
And it's
like,
freezing.
The three best teams in the AFC all play outdoors, very cold weather cities. No, you won't face hard weather in the NFC at all.
No, and I think that had a lot to do with Philadelphia last year in the NFC when they went through because they were playing in terrible weather there in Philly. In two of those games they had at home in the playoffs, like brutal. Championship cold. Okay, Casey, take it away. All NFL coming up here in a minute.
All right. The future Bengals Bearcats report that we'll do at some point is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing, desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. And let me tell you about Pahhni Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pahhni Water at PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee from UDF, drink lots of Pahhni Water, and technology solutions from Encore. Elliot, do you want to take over the super chats or?
Sure. I think didn't we read that one?
We read that. There was only one super chat.
But I'll read it again. Sure. He's going to Steve from Chicago, $1.99. I'm going to bring you the L flag for Reid. He's going to fly the L flag.
I've actually had 3 different people that watch our show identify my home because they're from Hamilton and they drove a semi-busy street. And they see the W flag where I live. So they're like, is this your home? And I'm like, yep, that's where I live. Please don't egg it. I got 43 windows, a lot of windows that you could egg, but please don't do that.
And he's got to replace those windows, too.
Yep, $160,000 to replace them. Nah, it's like $30,000. But here's the thing, guys. We have recently hit a milestone here. I don't know if we talked about this on the show, but Chatterbox Sports' YouTube has hit 11,000 subscribers. So a little clap here. So, guys, if you are watching the stream and you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to let you know when we go live. So, Chatterbox Reds, Chatterbox Bearcats, Off the Bench, all the things that we do here on YouTube, you will get an immediate notification about that. And like the stream. And it helps us go far.
And on top of that, if you want to support us even further than that, there's an option to become a member, which you will get exclusive things like exclusive streams, box lunch. We do things with a gaming stream with you guys. Plan to do that maybe next week because I forgot to bring my PlayStation this week. Also, there's other stuff in the future that we plan on doing. Discounts for the merch store, things like that. Am I forgetting one other thing? I feel like I'm forgetting one other thing.
You can fire Reid.
There's a fire Reid option for those of you that want to try to fire Reid.
Yes, I came in a little grumpy, and I was like, please just fire me. I don't want to do this anymore.
Same.
I came in a little grumpy today. And so, yeah. Also, I like the advice that I got on how not to be grumpy from this weather. Just don't go outside.
That's fair. I'll tell you what.
Or go to Arizona.
It was pouring down rain my entire drive in, and there was a point during that drive I was like, what are we doing? Let's just turn around and go home, and I'll get under the sheets, and we'll have a good time.
This is the worst time of the year. I've said this for forever. Obviously, winter has the worst weather.
This has been the worst winter in a while, though, in terms of that there's just, like, no signs of winter except for the cold. Like, there's no – like, I know people don't like the snow, but I like to look at the snow every once in a while.
It hasn't even really been that cold
It
yet.
hasn't snowed. It hasn't been.
Well,
it hasn't
it's
been,
the anticipation of what it's about to come.
It hasn't even been that cold yet. It's actually been the wettest winter that I can remember. I don't remember it raining like this in January ever, and it's rained for about 2 weeks straight, and it's going to turn into snow here soon. Here's the thing about the winter is it blows its budget. The winter has a few fun things. It has the holidays. It has New Year's, and it just says, all right, we're going to do it right in the first week of winter. For the next 3 months, all you got to do is look forward to it getting warm again. So
I already know where Elliot was going with that. If you look at the next 2 weeks,
this next 2 weeks, it'll be very, very cold.
It is so cold. I just absolutely hate it.
Yep.
Absolutely hate it.
Thom, how do you avoid getting upset from the weather? You just don't let it affect you.
I try not to. A lot of other things affect me that I shouldn't.
Traffic's a bad one.
Ooh, I don't care. I can sit in traffic for hours and it won't bother me.
Really? See, that's just a difference in the way we're wired.
Right.
That was one of the almost sole reasons I left the Cubs. I couldn't take it.
Take the Chicago traffic anymore?
Yeah. I mean, driving to the airport, hour and 45 minutes, it's 20 miles outside of downtown, right? 2 hours on a Sunday night. We'd land. You're like, oh, it's Sunday night. Hell, there's nobody on the road. We get in from St. Louis playing a Sunday afternoon game. Be 7:30 at night, 8 o'clock. You jump in the car and click on. You always have to jump in the car. Nobody does this in Cincinnati. Jump in the car and turn on the radio to hear the traffic. As soon as you get in.
That's brutal.
2 hours. 2 hours.
I think if I lived in Chicago.
Lost my mind.
If I lived in Chicago, I wouldn't own a car. I don't think I would. I think I would just take the public transit everywhere.
Well, there's some places you just. I mean, if you're, there are some jobs you can do that, but there are a lot of jobs you can't do that. Like for example, with the Cubs, we were landing at O'Hare, but we were pulling off down to an area where private charters come in, so you'd park your car in there. If you were hoping to get on the train from the actual O'Hare airport, you would have to ask somebody from whatever company, United we used, you'd have to have somebody out there to drive you back to the terminal to then get on the train to go into the city. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. Now, there are a lot of people I know, young people that have jobs there and they don't have a car and you don't need one. You're fine.
Yeah, one of my best friends from high school moved out there, and she has lived there for 7 years, and has never owned a car.
Yep.
Never owned a car. Takes Ubers, takes the CTA everywhere. Gets around just fine.
And for those that say, AJ and Mr. Mo, about Chicago being a pit, it is not a pit at all.
I love Chicago.
It is a great place to live in the city, downtown, whole 9 yards. It was a great place. I don't know so much anymore. My friends tell me that live there that it's a whole different place there now.
I told you that I lived in a homeless shelter on 63rd Street for a month, right? That was an eye-opening experience.
I'm sure it was.
Was an eye-opening experience. And I love Chicago. I know all the rumors about the violence and everything like that. When I lived on 63rd Street in that homeless shelter, there was a school about a block away, and I was walking to get lunch one day, and we heard gunshots like a block away from this school. And all the kids were out at recess, and they all jumped on the floor, covered their head. Then when the gunshot stopped, they popped right back up and started playing again. It was like, I was like, what the? Because if that happened here, if that happened where I went to school in St. Pete's, if we heard one gunshot within a mile, like as far as you can hear a gunshot, our parents would be picking us up in an hour.
Well, is St. Pete in Hamilton?
Yeah.
Well, times have changed in Hamilton.
That's right.
That's true.
Did that
Because you
homeless
could
shelter
be
have good
outside
Wi-Fi?
enjoying a concert and hear a gunshot.
That's right.
You wouldn't have. You
And
did
the
not
next
hear
thing
that.
you know, you're down.
Boom.
Sniper!
See, they didn't hear that gunshot. That gunshot just fell. That bullet just fell.
That was the best part of that shot, is just that you didn't even know it was shot. Raining from the sky.
Oh, boy. Okay, here we go. We want to start with the Final Five.
Let's do Final Five.
All right, let's start with the Final Five, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to let these guys, I'm encouraging these guys to agree or pick it apart, whatever it might be, and then what we're going to do is actually talk about each of these games Because we had assignments yesterday.
We did.
Your assignments were what again, Elliot?
It is to what is it called?
Preview.
Preview of the game, or not a preview. It was like a tidbit for each game, or for one game.
So you had 2 games you were assigned yesterday.
Yes.
Do you remember what they are?
It was the Rams. It was the Rams Lions game, and then it was the Browns Texans.
Okay, and your 2 games.
I had the 2 AFC games between the Steelers and Bills.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Both games will be blistering cold.
Yes, it will. And Casey, you had?
I had Dallas and Packers.
That's
game.
right. And I was assigned Tampa Bay hosting Philadelphia.
That's correct.
Okay. So we're gonna do all that. We're gonna pick the games for this week, and we encourage any of your thoughts as always in the chat. All right, here we go. My number 5 team, most likely to reach the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes has never gone on the road for a playoff game. Now, does that mean he can't win a road playoff game? You'd be an idiot to think he can't. He's Patrick Mahomes. He's the best player in the league. But this ain't Kansas City of the last 4 years where they've been to 3 Super Bowls. You like them there at 5.
I love them that 5.
Yeah, 5 makes a whole lot of sense. You guys, I mean, everyone is absolutely right when they don't look like the Kansas City teams. I actually did a little experiment yesterday where I looked up how many points the Kansas City Chiefs were scoring in each of their playoff runs. And I was, even knowing how good their offense was, I was surprised by how many points. I mean, we're talking 35, 38, 42 points nearly every single game. The only games in which they didn't do that were against the Cincinnati Bengals. So this is a team that has prided itself on offense. Hasn't been that way this year. Now what they do have is they've kind of flipped their motto, right? They're a defensive team now. They've got a top 5 defense. And I don't think they get enough credit for that. And here they go. They're playing against a team in the Miami Dolphins who I've been low on all season long. Miami Dolphins who never play well in cold weather, and they're going to play in minus 30 degrees. And I don't want to get into that game too much because I'll preview it a little bit. But I can't see a world in which the Kansas City Chiefs lose this game tomorrow night. And it's going to be Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. It would surprise no one if they made the Super Bowl. It really wouldn't. It shouldn't, at least. It might surprise you, but it shouldn't because they have the best coach and the best quarterback in the playoffs. So,
yeah, I really like the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they will win the Super Bowl, but they can certainly get to an AFC Championship game with the talent that they have. Isaiah Pacheco, in my opinion, will be their key. If Isaiah Pacheco can scamper around there in that weird way that he runs for 120 yards, 100 yards, they'll be fine. They'll be more than fine. Won't really matter what Patrick does.
Okay. Casey, you like him at 5?
Yeah, I think 5 is fine. Much to Elliot's point, I think little electric mouse Pikachu, Isaiah Pacheco, is going to be the key to this game for them. I think they've got a really great interior offensive line to get push. And I just, with all the injuries on the Dolphins side, I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep up. So I like the pick here at number 5. I think they're going to move on this round.
Okay. All right. Now we move to the final 4. Dallas, they're going to host 2 games. If they win, and they're going to win, they're going to beat Green Bay. They would host then a second-round game. We mentioned, Casey said it a minute ago, they are really, really good, unbeatable, in fact, in their last 16 at home. And I just don't see them losing. I don't. They got a good defense. They got a good. When they want to run it, they don't run it a lot. When they want to run it, they're okay. Pollard's good back. And Dak is having just an outstanding season. You like 4? Cowboys?
They are.
It's the highest I would have ranked them in years, to be honest with you, because I've always thought they were a fraud. But something says something different to me this year.
I obviously know what your top 5 is, and I agree with pretty much every single pick from here on out. Yeah, Dallas at 4 makes the most sense. They're going to get to play 2 home playoff games. They're very fast. They're such a fast team, and when they get a play at home, they're even faster. And they're just tough to beat. I mean, this Cowboys team, they've had their lumps in the postseason. They've had their lumps against the Packers in the postseason.
Yep.
But
that's Aaron Rodgers.
Some say Jordan Love played better than Aaron Rodgers this year. But yeah, I like the Cowboys.
I also like the Cowboys at 4. I think if you are able, again, if Mike McCarthy is able to utilize his timeouts correctly, if he's not going to do anything silly, if Dak Prescott will somehow play up to the potential that we all know he can play to, they will win a lot of football games. CeeDee Lamb's been a beast.
Yep.
Casey said he's been the second best receiver in the NFL this season. The Cowboys at 4 is more than fair. I do like them getting to an NFC championship game.
I'm reading a lot of people in the chat. They like Green Bay to cover 7.5.
I also do. I like Green Bay to cover that as well.
Okay.
But I still like the Cowboys.
Casey Rue?
Yeah, I like the Cowboys a lot here. I think that their pass rush is relentless. I think that their offense is very explosive. They can run the ball if they want to. More times than not, they don't really need to because of how great CeeDee Lamb has been. The emergence of Jake Ferguson at tight end has really helped that offense as well. They just have a lot of options.
Yep.
They're very well balanced in just about every single facet of the game. I think they're really good on run D, pass defense, run offense, pass offense. They're just good all around. Even on special teams, they're good. Their kicker is phenomenal. Their punter is an all-pro. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're the whole package. There's no doubt. And, the question will be, ultimately, if the seedings play out, can they go to San Francisco after they were just absolutely, blown out of the gym by the 49ers earlier this year? Could they go there and win? So that brings us to number 3, and that's Buffalo. Like Dallas, we talked about the top 2 seeds on each side, and these are going to be our final 4. They've earned it, right? Dallas plays great at home. Buffalo is so wildly inconsistent. If I were a betting man, somebody gave me the field, okay, and they wanted to take Buffalo, I am predicting Buffalo will get nowhere near the Super Bowl at the end of the day. I think they're going to find a way to spit it up. I think Allen's going to find a way to turn it over. And even though talent-wise they might be better than some other teams, I think they are more than capable of getting beat at any time. They're also more than capable, which is why I put them at 3, of beating anybody, anywhere, anytime. I think, though, they have their hands full, and I'll probably have egg on my face on Monday. I think they have their hands full this weekend.
I don't think they have their
Men of aluminum.
I don't think
Men of aluminum.
I'll give you credit. If the Steelers beat the Bills, I will give you all the kudos in the world come Monday. But I just don't see that whatsoever. I have a take that the Buffalo Bills are perhaps the most fun team to watch in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's Josh Allen.
That's right.
Josh Allen is is so much fun to watch, and that's because you don't know what the heck's going to happen.
That's right.
You don't know. Everyone talks about the turnovers. We made a lot to do about it. But I mean, when you score points like the Buffalo Bills do, who cares if you turn the ball over? Not all turnovers are created equal, but all touchdowns are created equal. A turnover where you throw the ball 50 yards downfield and it's an interception is not the same as fumbling it in the backfield on the 10-yard line. So not everything is created equal. And the Buffalo Bills, really over the last 7 weeks, you said they're inconsistent. Well, they've been playing very consistent ball over the last 7 weeks. 6-1. Their only loss coming to a 10-1 at the time, 10-1 Eagles in overtime. The Buffalo Bills, don't be surprised if they're hoisting that Lombardi trophy at the end of the playoffs.
I'm going to be surprised.
I would not be surprised. When I close my eyes, I can see Josh Allen hoisting the Lombardi. Not all turnovers are created equal. They did have 3 against the Dolphins in the red zone. If that's going to continue, they are not going to win football games. I do agree with him that they're fun, but that's for the reasons that he says, that they're so crazy that Josh Allen can turn the ball over on a whim. I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl, but I do think they could. I do think it's possible.
But you like them at 3?
I like him at 3.
All right. You like them better at 2?
I like him better at 4, but I like him at 3.
Okay. You'd have flip-flopped them in Dallas.
I would have flipped the Cowboys.
Okay. What about you, Case?
Oh, man. Buffalo at 3. I'm not going to get into the ticky-tack stuff where I think like the Cowboys have a better chance than the Bills, but I think this is fair. If they can beat the Steelers, I mean, they have a pretty good shot.
Yep.
It's just this game. I feel like these cold weather games where they're going to be forced to run the ball a lot, like the Steelers, that is their MO. I was just looking at some of the against the spreads for the Steelers and the Bills and just how they do in cold weather games. The Steelers are actually undefeated against the spread in cold weather games in the last couple years. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a much closer game than people think. I know that Buffalo has a more explosive offense, and they can get through this really bad weather game. I like their chances, but this week is where I'm having a lot of pause. I really do think the Steelers have the team to be able to beat the Bills if they're forced to run the ball like they are going to have to be.
The Bills have ran the ball very well over the last 5 weeks.
Yes, they have.
I think it was Mr. Mo that said that was their big bugaboo, is that they never ran the ball very well. They fired their offensive coordinator, and things have turned around, and the team has turned around since that move.
Yeah, and that kid's a good back, man.
James Cook.
Yeah, he's a nice player.
I mean, I agree, other than the fact that they have that passing attack to like force defenses to respect that part of their game. When that gets taken away and it comes down to being smash mouth, when it comes to like we're going to have to beat the guys up front, Steelers, man, that's a tough front seven to go up against.
Tough sledding.
Well,
Tough
there's no
sled.
TJ Watt.
I know. Even
best player.
without TJ
Do you think this will
Watt.
be the resurgence of playoff Leonard Fournette?
Oh, that'd be huge.
Playoff Lenny. That's what they call him.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette. I think it's huge.
All right.
All right, the top two are the top two teams. And I would give number 2 to San Francisco because I think that at the end of the day with Baltimore 1, they've played this year already. Baltimore wore them out. I think that Baltimore is a tougher, more physical team. The one thing that I will say is that if they meet one another in the Super Bowl, what is the Super Bowl? Vegas? So weather's a non-factor once you get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
No, every year except for the one year they did it in New York. Maybe the speed of the 49ers and their sort of wide open sort of play. But even though I think it is a harder road to get to the Super Bowl, I think that if the Ravens, it comes down to this. I think if the Ravens had to play the Bills, the Ravens would drill them. And if the Niners have to play the Cowboys, I think the Niners drill them. That's why we're 2-1, not just because they're number 1 seeds.
I agree with your top 5 almost entirely. When I think of the NFC, I can't imagine anybody but the 49ers winning.
Yeah.
Because the second best team's the Cowboys, and I really can't see them getting to the Super Bowl because I haven't seen it with my own eyes yet. Every time that they get to a position where you think that we keep fooling ourselves into thinking this Cowboys team's different, and then the postseason comes around and it just doesn't happen. I can't imagine anybody but the 49ers. The Eagles don't look good. The Lions, I can't trust the Lions. So nobody but the 49ers, in my opinion, are coming out of the NFC. Now, in the AFC, I could see any one of those 3 teams that you see on the top 5 right there. I can see any one of those teams.
What about the Brownies?
I can't see the Brownies.
What about the Brownies?
I can't see the Brownies winning the AFC. I can see any of those 3 teams. You know why? I believe in those 3 teams and not the Brownies because look at the quarterbacks of those 3 teams. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Arguably the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL at this very moment. So that's why I think any of those 3 teams. But, yeah, I completely agree with your top 5.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I also agree. I think if you have to give me Ravens or 49ers for the one spot, I think the Ravens have an easier AFC championship game than the Niners would. So I would take the Ravens to have an easier path to get to the Super Bowl. So I would agree with you. There was a super chat from Sir Boy.
Sir Boy.
Did you see this, Tom?
I just saw it.
Tom has a better chance of giving a compliment about Newark TSA than the Ravens winning it all. Tough sledding with that pick, Tom.
That's my boy.
You like that one.
Sir Boy Wonder. What is this? By the way, he keeps saying something about, what is it called?
His new show, Grinding the Peppa.
Peppa.
Grinding the Peppa.
Okay, and what's the deal? He's got a podcast?
Yeah.
Sir Boy.
Yeah.
It's called Grinding the Peppa.
Grinding the Peppa.
And what is it about? I mean, is it about sports? Is it about life?
I think they had their first show yesterday. I did not watch it, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Sir Boy.
I want to hear, Sir Boy, what it's all about.
I tuned in. I was there for
It's about sports,
I
right?
was there for a little bit. Yeah, it's about sports. Just chatting about sports.
Now, I will say, he has for weeks now said that a week, that I grind the Peppa. He's been using it as a compliment, like leader of men. He said, Reid grinds the Peppa. Based on Sir Boy's tweet today, I don't know if I want to grind the Peppa.
I also agree with Reid. If you're going to call me grinding the Peppa, if you're going to say I grind the Peppa, please don't make it in reference to your most recent tweet.
Yes, I do not want to grind the Peppa, if that's what grinding the Peppa is.
He had a bad tweet?
Well, we'll look at it after the show. Casey?
I like Tom's last 2 picks. I do. I think that those are fair. I mean, Ravens beat the 49ers. I know this isn't to the Super Bowl necessarily, or who's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. But out of those teams, I think the Ravens are by far the best team in the NFL at the moment. 49ers, it's hard to beat the same team over and over and over again. I know they just absolutely dismantled the Cowboys, but we'll see if they can do it again, right? Yeah, I like your top five. I think your top five is fair.
Good. Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, look, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to get down to the top five. Where we had most of our debate was basically from 6 on. A lot of people didn't like my pick with Philadelphia being as high as they were, which we'll get to that game here in a minute. I had Cleveland higher than some others. I would have moved Pittsburgh. For those of you that weren't with us, they checked in at 13, but I had done this a couple of days before I started looking at what the weather forecast was for Buffalo. And I think that Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh can win this game, I truly believe that Pittsburgh can go to Baltimore and win. Because there is just something about a division game and playing division opponents. And all you have to do is look, and I said it yesterday, is just look back to last year. Fellas, I don't think anybody remembers on paper what that game looked like last year when the Ravens came rolling in.
Yeah.
They're playing a third-string quarterback.
Backup.
They don't have the best player on their team. They don't have their 2 starting running backs. They didn't have 2 starting offensive linemen. They didn't have 3 starting defenders, if I remember right. Might have been 4. And were it not for Tyler Huntley going up top at the 1-yard line instead of going down low at the 1-yard line, which would have given them the lead in the fourth quarter. The ball gets batted in the air. Sam Hubbard, 99 yards, whatever it officially went for, touchdown, turned the entire game. And the Ravens had no business being on the field with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all these guys who were having a great year, banged up offensive line or not. Because the Bengals proved the following weekend with a banged up offensive line that they could run it down anybody's throat. And they couldn't do anything against the Ravens in that game. They went to Buffalo the next week and made them look like a junior varsity team. So there is something about divisional matchups, especially in the postseason. I really believe if Pittsburgh can find a way, and it's nothing shy of a minor miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, but the bottom line is, correct me if I'm wrong, the Steelers play in the toughest division in football. The Steelers won 10 games this year with 3 different quarterbacks. The Buffalo Bills have been blessed with incredible health on the offensive side of the football. Defensive, had a couple guys out. Mm-hmm. On the offensive side, they play in arguably one of the 2 or 3 worst divisions in football.
Yeah, they still played a very tough schedule.
And they won one more game than the Steelers won.
Yeah, they still. I mean, they played a very tough schedule. They played the Chiefs. They played the Bengals. They played the Eagles.
Well, Steelers played the Chiefs.
Did they?
Right?
No.
Oh, they did not. Okay.
They
okay.
played,
That's right. They played. What am I thinking? They played they played the West this year.
No, the Bengals played the number 1 from the West, which was the Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
We didn't play the Raiders. We didn't play the Chargers and stuff like that.
Okay.
So the Bengals had to play, or the Bills had to play the Eagles. They had to play the Chiefs. They had to play the Cowboys. And they won 2 out of 3 of those games.
That was after they had a 21% chance of making the playoffs.
Tom, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see you're talking about the Steelers beating the Ravens next week. Not only do I think that's not going to happen.
I didn't say they would. I said that they would be able to go there and compete.
I don't think they stand a prayer this weekend.
Okay.
Not a prayer.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Fine. Like I said, and somebody asked, I said I might have egg on my face for thinking they have a chance, and the question was asked, would those be scrambled?
How do you like your eggs, Tom?
I'd like it sunny side up. We'd be good.
Right.
Yeah, be good. All right, Case, we ready to go through these games?
Yeah, let's go
All
through
right, let's start with it, okay? And we're going to go in order of when they are being played. Okay? So the Cleveland game is your game, Elliot.
That's right.
That is the Cleveland Browns at 4:30 tomorrow. Remember, there's 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and then 1 on Monday night. So the very first game out of the gate, get done whatever you got to get done tomorrow, and then just settle in for the rest of the night.
That's right.
But stick $7 in your pocket behind the paywall known as Peacock.
That's right.
If you want to watch them both. All right, tell us about the Browns and the Texans.
Well, again, this is just gonna be really Joe Flacco propaganda. I wrote this up. I found this. So Joe Flacco, all-time 10-5 record in the postseason, including an undefeated 5-0 in wild card games. This is obviously a wild card games. These numbers include one game where Joe only needed to complete 4 passes for 34 yards in a win. His average margin of victory is 17.5. Average passing yards about 200. 6 touchdowns, 1 pick in wild card games. He is tied with Tom Brady in the most road playoff victories with 7. And they did play this year, by the way. 36-22 was a final. They did not have C.J. Stroud. But the key to remember from that game is Amari Cooper set the all-time Browns receiving record in the game. He had 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is going to come down to if Joe Flacco can hold on to the football long enough. Again, 13 touchdowns this year has been great. 9 picks. He's had 9 interceptions. If he can cut the interceptions out, they're going to win this game. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a good one. C.J. Stroud's been damn good. But this is Joe Flacco. I will take Joe Flacco and the Browns.
Okay.
I think you're absolutely right about the turnovers, and I know that's, once again, every time I talk about how big turnovers are, everyone knows if you turn the ball over more than your opponent, you're not putting yourself in a good position to win. But that's one thing that C.J. Stroud is tremendous at. He doesn't give the ball to the other team. The Texans don't turn the ball over a whole lot. They're explosive. Now, this is a very good Browns defense, one of the best, if not the best defense in the league.
Yep.
Can they put enough pressure on a young quarterback playing in his first playoff game ever? This is a game that I've flip-flopped on. I've gone back and forth. When I first saw the line, I'm like, listen, the Browns are going to be all over the Texans. I think that was a little jaded of me because I was tired of hearing how good the Texans are after the Texans beat the Bengals. Pretty much from that week on, I've been hearing about how great the Texans are. And I just believe that the Browns are just a hard-nosed team.
Yep.
They've been fantastic with Joe Flacco. But I think you're absolutely on the nose that whoever wins this turnover battle is going to get it. I don't think this is a high-scoring game. I don't think it's a high-scoring game whatsoever. Even though there's 2 good offenses that have been flying, I think this is going to be in the low 20s, like a 21-18 kind of game. I think it's going to be a moderate scoring to low-scoring game.
I would disagree, but that's fair. Again, the last time the Texans, to your point, the last time the Texans played a good defense, it was the Jets, and they did have C.J. Stroud. They scored 6 points in the game. They lost 30-6 to the New York Jets. Yeah. I don't think they've played a lot of good defenses. Again, when they played the Browns earlier this year, Amari Cooper had his day.
Are you gambling on this game?
Absolutely.
And what are you going? What is the spread?
Brownies.
What is the spread?
It is 3.
It's down. I think it's down to 2.
Browns are favored by 3.
It's down to
the
2.
Browns.
2. The Browns are favored by 2.
All right, and you are going to bet
the Browns.
The Denzel Ward news moved it to 2.
Yeah, we mentioned in the monologue, Denzel Ward, their best cover corner, great player, Pro Bowler again this year, I think 3rd or 4th time. He injured his knee in practice yesterday, and he's been nicked up already to begin with. So that could be a huge hit for the Brownies.
Absolutely.
Are you gambling on this game?
We'll see. All
right, well, if you had to do it, what would you do?
Early in the week, I loved the Browns. But I keep flip-flopping. And when you can't make a decision, when your brain can't make a decision, you probably should just stay away.
Let it go.
Yeah, you
let it go.
That's right.
Let it go.
But how am I going to sit around on a Saturday
Oh, my God.
and watch a playoff game and not at least put a little skin in the game, Tom? How am I going to do that?
Casey, are you betting on this game?
Am I going to be betting at all this weekend? I don't know.
Do you have to ask your wife if you're gambling this weekend?
That's what it seems like, Tom.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
What? No, you do know.
Yeah, what do you mean you don't?
I mean, put it this way. If you were going to place a bet, let's say you felt strongly about any of these games, okay? Let's just say it's this one, okay? And you feel really strongly about the Texans. Before you actually went through the software, click, 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 right? Will you tell your bride before you hit, what do you hit? You don't hit send, do you? You hit what, confirm?
Yeah.
Confirm. Will you tell your bride before you hit that button, confirm, yay or nay?
No, I would not say anything to her. But it is our money, so.
It what?
It is our money, so I can't.
It is. You're right about that. That's why, I think you probably ought to tell her. I would. That's me. But, that's you.
Well, she trusts me.
I know
she trusts me.
So what do you think? What do you think about this game?
I really like the Texans, mainly because I think a lot of people are just sleeping on them. I looked at the last game that they played. They played 4 weeks ago, 36-22 without C.J. Stroud. It was actually it was really just a dominant game from the Browns from start to finish. However, I do think that C.J. Stroud makes a ton of difference. Mills was 15-32 for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think you add that C.J. Stroud factor, and I think this is going to be a close game. However, I don't think it's going to be like what Elliott thinks, the scoring shootout. I think it's going to be the battle of the defenses. I think the defense for Houston is sneaky. It's just sneaky talented. Browns have been nicked up on the offensive line, and I don't think that they were pretty much rolling out their whole starting offensive line for the most part this whole season against this game. I think that Houston's going to have an easier time getting to the quarterback, therefore more pressure for Joe Flacco. Closer game. So I don't know. Spread-wise, I'll probably pick the Browns at 2, but I think there's a good chance Houston can win this.
So if you were gambling, if you were to make that decision, you would put it on
the Browns.
We'll get to our picks late in the game.
We will. The Browns to cover. Okay, so you're up to speed on that one. Right. Now we go to the second game, which is your Reid game, the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead, where, again, if you didn't hear, the weather they're calling for is just brutal. I mean, the high is 9. This is a night game, so wind chill at kickoff, 0 if not below, because they're expecting 25-mile-per-hour winds. Tell us more about the Dolphins v. Chiefs.
All the storylines that you've heard about this are going to unfold right before your eyes. This is going to be possibly the fourth coldest game in NFL history. It could get down to -9. It will be like only the 6th time in NFL history that the degrees before the wind chill are in the negatives, and you can just add the wind chill on top of that. So it's going to be dang near the -30s. So you wonder what do you do as a football team when it gets cold? Well, you run the ball. And I don't think that the Miami Dolphins get enough credit for how well they run the ball. I mean, you talk about this Miami Dolphins offense, and it's high powered. They got Jalen Waddle. They got Tyreek Hill. Well, yeah, they still run the ball very well. Top 5 in the league in rushing yards per game. Now, part of that is because they won a lot of games and you run the ball late in games, but I digress. What they do very well is they work the perimeter in their run game, right? A lot of moving parts. They try to get the perimeter. So what will the Chiefs be able to do? This is one of the top 5 defenses in the league, and I've said it for weeks now. I don't think the Chiefs, everyone talks about how poorly their offense has played. I don't think they're getting enough credit for how well their defense has been. This is a young defense, right? They've had to put a lot of draft picks into their defensive side, and they've obviously put some money into it as well with the Chris Jones extension earlier this year. But I've said it before. I can't see the Miami Dolphins showing up in their teal jersey. What's their record? 1-10? 1-10 in games under 30 degrees?
0-9 under 40.
Under 40. So I just can't see Mike McDaniel, Tua coming in to Arrowhead in negative degree temperatures and beating the Kansas City Chiefs. These are 2 teams that have limped into the postseason. 2 weeks ago, the Miami Dolphins beat the Dallas Cowboys, and we're talking about this team could be the 1 seed. This team can win the East. They did neither. They lost their last 2 weeks, losing 40 points to the Baltimore Ravens, losing to the Buffalo Bills with a chance to win their division. But the Kansas City Chiefs haven't done well either. Over the past 7 weeks, offense wasn't there. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the second last week of the year. They scored 1 touchdown. 6 kicks, kind of like that Bengals playoff run back in 2021. And obviously last week's game really doesn't matter when you got Blaine Gabbert versus Easton Stick, and they beat the Chargers 13-12. So both teams are limping in. I'm going with a little bit of just the Chiefs have done it in the postseason. They've been there. They're not gonna get shell shocked by the cold. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they won a lot of playoff games. I think they're gonna win this one, Tom.
Okay.
I like the Chiefs to win this game. Again, I think the Dolphins have proved that they are fraudulent. I do not believe in them any longer. Raheem Mostert, again, very, very, very good running back. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball when they're down by 14 in the second half, to start the second half. This will be the Isaiah Pacheco legacy game. That is my prediction. Chiefs
Wow.
win by 30.
By what?
30.
30.
Won't be close.
They might not score 30 points in the game.
It's a cold weather game,
Won't be
Elliot.
close. I don't care. Does that mean they can't score points?
Just letting you know all the facts.
30-0.
Okay. All right. Okay. Go ahead. Casey, what are your thoughts on this one?
I like the Chiefs in this one. Some of the X factors I think of, the Miami Dolphins are on their, 5th, 6th string linebackers, and they're going to have to go up against Hall of Fame tight end Travis Kelce. That's not a good recipe. They don't have any edge rushers. That's not any good. And the interior for Kansas City, just really, really solid. They can get a lot of push up front, kind of neutralize the effectiveness of Christian Wilkins and that interior defensive run stuffing ability that the Miami Dolphins have had over the last couple weeks. So for me, I'm going with the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game, though. I don't think it's going to be that crazy. I think it's going to be like 17 to 10 or something like that.
Okay.
20 to 10.
Okay.
Chiefs.
All right. I my gut instinct, because I bring up the teal uniforms all the time, my gut instinct, tells me that Miami's going to have a hard time. But no, that's what my brain tells me. My gut tells me that Miami is showing up for this one.
Really?
I think they've got a talented team. I think they've got a good coach. I just and coupled with the fact that they can run the ball, and there is going to be some kind of motivated Tyreek Hill in this game. I mean, a lot of
That's
people
true.
think this cat should be getting consideration for the league MVP, and he should. He's coming back to town, and, I mean, he's great as it is, but if there is any such thing as a little extra edge, I don't know how anybody guards this guy. The wind may prevent him. The weather may prevent him from slinging it around, but if that holds true for Miami, it also holds true for Kansas City. And as we've documented already, this year, the body of work doesn't mean it'll be the case tomorrow night, but the body of work this year, Miami has run the ball much better than Kansas City. So even though it's a freezing cold game for a warm weather team, something tells me they're going to show up. All right, now we get to Sunday.
Yeah, we do.
Buffalo Bills v. Pittsburgh Steelers in Buffalo. Reid Maus.
Yeah, once again, it's going to be very cold. It's not going to be quite as cold as the Kansas City game. It's going to be below freezing, and there's going to be a lot of snow. There's going to be some precipitation. So once again, has a chance to be a low-scoring game up there in Buffalo. We talked about how the AFC just has a lot of cold weather stadium. I mean, every home game is pretty much going to be is going to be very cold, with the exception of Houston, and that ends this week. So the Buffalo Bills have played perhaps the best football over the past 7 weeks. You can argue that. You certainly can. And they won a lot of nice games. They beat the Dolphins last week with a chance to win the AFC East, and they did exactly that. The Steelers, after reeling for 3 weeks, having perhaps the worst 3-week stretch in their franchise's history, losing to 2 loss teams in the New England Patriots and the Arizona Cardinals. They come back. They beat a team that's hoping to make the postseason, and we're playing some great football. And the Cincinnati Bengals absolutely blew them out. They go and beat a Seahawks team, once again a team trying to make the postseason. And then they beat the number 1 team in the AFC. Granted, it was their backups in the Baltimore Ravens, but that was for a chance to go on and make the postseason. And they did exactly that. We have made fun of the Pittsburgh Steelers all season long. We really have.
Yep.
Yeah, they're 10-7, but come on. It's the Steelers. You've watched them play. They don't look very good. At the end of the day, they are 10-7. And they are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those two things matter. When you win 10 games in the NFL, you're probably a pretty good team. When you have the history that the Pittsburgh Steelers have, you're probably a pretty good team. All that being said, I just can't see a world in which, in a cold weather, playing the hottest team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, I just can't see the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Buffalo Bills this weekend.
I agree with Reid. I do think Mason Rudolph is a very bad quarterback.
Yes.
Saying that, he has played well lately. I can't find it in my brain to think that the Steelers can win this game. Saying that, Josh Allen and the Bills have yet to cover a double-digit spread this season. It's happened 3 times. He's 0-3. So, if there was a game to be close, it might be this one. Thom might be right. I think their defense is still okay. Even without TJ Watt, it's still a good defense. And as we all know, Josh Allen will have at least one turnover in this game. I would venture to say more than 2. So, if that happens, the Steelers do have a chance. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. And I do like the Steelers covering that spread, I guess.
Especially with the winds as they are.
Yeah.
They're going to be 60, some say 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's almost hurricane winds.
Casey?
Yeah, the weather is just such a huge factor in this game. Bills are definitely not covering the spread. There's just no way. That being said, I think that Josh Allen won't have the opportunities to have a lot of turnovers because he's not going to be able to throw the ball. They're going to have to run the ball. And I know that the Bills have been very effective at running the ball, but they had the pass game, that threat of being able to beat you over the top with Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis to really help kind of push that forward. The emergence of Dalton Kincaid over the middle made the linebackers have to take steps back before they could actually commit to the run. Now that this game is forcing both teams to just be smash-mouth football, old-school football, the Pittsburgh Steelers' play style fits this way better than the Buffalo Bills. There's no real home field advantage. Like, Pittsburgh also plays in the cold. I've been to Buffalo. It's not very loud. It's not a very loud stadium. I don't think there's much of a home field advantage there. To me, if there was a upset to have to in this playoff run, it is this game right here. And I think that the Steelers could win a playoff game despite being one of the worst teams to make it into the playoffs just because of the weather. So, that being said, I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game.
Look, Mason Rudolph, you say whatever you want about him. He's only made a total of 13 starts in his career. He's 8-4-1 as a starter this year, 3-0. They're scoring points with the dude at quarterback. They're running the ball. They scored 34 against the Bengals. They scored 30 in Seattle. And they had to have all these games to get in. And then they played Baltimore where they ran the ball like crazy. They're running it. Najee Harris looks great. Now they're without Watt. That's a big hit. I think this is a game. All right, next up we got Cowboys at home v. Green Bay. Casey, this is your game.
Yep, this is my game. It's actually a lot of just Packers propaganda, to be honest with you. I felt like most people understand who the Cowboys are.
Yep.
Very balanced on every single front. Got Pro Bowlers, All-Stars everywhere on their team. CeeDee Lamb breaking the all-time Cowboys receiving season with 1,700-something receiving yards, 150 more than Michael Irvin. Anyways, yeah, very good. Very talented defense. Most people don't understand who the Packers are. Packers this year started 3-6. Then they proceeded to have one of the best half of the seasons of football in the NFL. They went 6-2 in that stretch. Jordan Love in that stretch has been on fire. 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. Finished the year with 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Only second in the league behind Dak Prescott with 36. The Packers have a ton of young talent with Jaden Reed, one of the best rookies this year at receiver with 10 touchdowns. And I wanted to add just a little note here. Their other rookie receiver, Devontae Wicks. Some of the Packers fans are really excited about that kid. He scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And not to mention the second years, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson have both combined for 13 touchdowns. Christian Watson been in and out of the lineup. If he's in this game, he's a difference maker. Last year, he absolutely torched the Cowboys. 3 touchdowns and a comeback win for the Packers. And also Tucker Kraft averaging 50 yards in this stretch of the last 5 weeks. This offense has been very explosive. On top of that, Aaron Jones, their running back, has basically been the Cowboys' killer. Mm-hmm. He's only played in 11 games this year, but he was very, very close to 1,000 yards rushing, so he's still very, very good. And every game that he's played against the Cowboys, he's had above 100 yards, 6 yards per carry, just absolutely gashing them left and right. And we saw what happened against the Bills when they decided that they're going to run the ball against the Cowboys. They couldn't stop it. And I expect a lot of that to happen for this Packers game. They have the threat of that passing game that's going to make the Cowboys step back, and they're going to get gouged again. The only problem is their defense. They started the year off pretty well. They were in the middle of the league for most of the year, but towards the back half, they started giving up a lot of yards, a lot of shootouts. Their run game is 28th in the league. Their pass defense is right there, smack dab in the middle. Their offensive line, I forgot to mention this, but their offensive line has been pretty decent, has been able to protect the quarterback a lot this year. The other little tidbit of information that I'd like to share about this game, the Packers have not lost to the Cowboys in over 10 years. 10 years. They have just absolutely dominated the Cowboys. So that being said, the spread is like 7.5 points. I'm taking the Packers. I know we're not talking picks here, but I think this is also another game to be watching out for. I know we already mentioned the Cowboys are undefeated at home. That's the other little tidbit of information. Yep. But it's almost like the immovable force meets a unstoppable object. When the Packers have been dominating the Cowboys for this long, something's got to give. So in terms of spread, I'm taking the Packers. But in terms of just the game itself, I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Okay. All right. Well, that to me, look, if Green Bay's got to minimize the exposure of their defense in this game. They have to minimize the number of times that Dallas snaps the ball on offense. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to have that successful running game, because then you really narrow now the field, the number of possessions. Because if they can't run the ball and Dallas gets the ball, Dak Prescott is going to light this defense up like a Christmas tree. Dallas could score 50 if Green Bay can't run the ball, because their defense, their secondary, cannot handle this Cowboys passing attack. All right, tomorrow night we have the Sunday night. That place is going to, if there was a game to go to and jump in a car and drive up 4 hours, I'm telling you, man, that place is going to be jumping. The Lions home with Matthew Stafford coming to town.
Oh, yeah.
This is your game, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Okay, please.
So here we go. This game is going to be a shootout. In the last 8 games for each team, the Rams and Lions have each scored 30 points plus 4 times. The Rams are 7-1 in their last 8, only loss being a 37-31 loss in overtime to Baltimore. Lions are 6-2 at home. Rams 4-3 on the road. Lions in their last 7 are 4-3. The Rams in their last 7, the Lions have lost, their last 8 consecutive playoff games, dating back to 1993. All of them have been wild card games. 7 of those 8 have been on the road, the only one being a 1993 loss to the Packers, which started that streak. That was a close 28-24 game. Stafford and the Rams beat Goff and the Lions the last time. It was the only time they played. It was that woeful 2021 Lions team that didn't win a game. Did they win a game? They lose them all. They lost them all, I think, in 2021.
Well, they had a year where they lost them all.
Yeah, I think it was 20. Was it 2021, Casey?
I don't think it was 21.
No.
It
was
how many
like
games did they win in
16,
21?
17.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Stafford and the Rams beat Goff the Lions in 2021, 28-19. Rams are 4-2 in their last 6 road playoff games. I think this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be the Rams taking another victory. Sorry for the Lions. Not going to be your day.
The Detroit Lions in 2021 went 3-13.
3-13. That's my bad.
They went. They 2008 was when they didn't win a game.
That's right.
So that was about 50. But I agree with that. I think it's going to be a shootout. I really do. I think it's two really good moving offenses. This is a very young team in the Rams, and I think the Lions are just going to be a little jittery. I think they're going to be a little jittery playing at home, playing in front of as high of expectations as that city has right now. Because this is the first time that they've seen something like this. They've seen a team this good getting a chance to play at home. It's going to be, I think, maybe the best game. I think this is going to be the most exciting game of the week because all the games in the AFC are going to be cold, so they're not going to be very exciting. They have good storylines, but they're just not going to be very, very exciting. This game, I think, has all the makings to be fantastic. Yeah.
Boom shakalaka, by the way, with a great stat. Goff has never thrown for 2 touchdowns in a playoff game. Stafford has thrown for 2+ touchdowns in every playoff game.
But Goff has led a team to the Super Bowl, and Stafford has not led a team to a postseason win until he came to the Rams.
Well,
until he came to the Rams.
Well, he won the Super Bowl.
He won the
He
Super
won the Super Bowl too. That's right. In that stadium, I'm talking about playing for them. Go ahead.
I don't have really any factual. This is more of a gut feeling for me. The only factual evidence I have for the Lions to lose this game is the Sam Laporta injury. I know what people are going to say, that he actually had some really good news, that it was a hyperextension and then a bone bruise, which that's still super hard to come back from. It's only a week's rest, and I just don't think that's going to be enough. I think that he's going to be, if he does play, he's going to be playing at like 75, 60%, which is just not good enough. It's not going to be good enough to be able to help out this Lions team. And I just feel like Matthew Stafford, better quarterback than Jared Goff. I think that all around they have better weapons. The emergence of Kyron Williams has been really effective for the Rams. I just really like the Rams.
Okay.
I really like the Rams. And I love the Lions, but I just, this game is not a good matchup for them.
Okay. All right. It's going to be exciting with Stafford coming back into town. There's no two ways about that. All right. And then lastly is my game. That will be the one that I was assigned. Thank you. And that will be the Eagles against Tampa Bay. Look, we know the Eagles, they started the year at 10-1. They've lost 5 of their last 6. One of their wins early in the year was over Tampa Bay. That was 25-11, the final in that game. But here in the last couple of weeks, a number of things have been exposed with Philadelphia. Let's start with health. We know about their wide receiving core, A.J. Brown and Smith. They're both nicked up. They're going to play, but they're both nicked up. And then Jalen Hurts, a quarterback. He injures the middle finger of his passing hand in the second quarter last week. He hears it pop. They get him in the tent. They jerk the thing back into place. He's a gamer, nut cutter, says, I'm playing. He goes back in, and he was awful the rest of the game. He said, later, I regret coming back into the game. He has not thrown a football one day this week. Not one single time. But he says, don't worry about it. I'll be ready to go. The other thing that's been exposed, and go figure, is this defense. Philadelphia's given up 31 points per game on average over the last 7 weeks. 31 points per game. Now, they demoted their defensive coordinator early in the year because he's dropping defensive linemen back in coverage and they're not coming after the quarterback. They put in Matt Patricia. Patricia's doing it more than the other guy did it. Their sack totals have gone from 43 this year, from 70 last year. So they're not getting after the quarterback. And if you're going to beat Baker Mayfield, you got to force him into making mistakes. I would look for Philadelphia to be extremely aggressive on defense this week, and I say they get it together. Let's get to, because we're starting to run out of time. We got chat rankings today too, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
all
so
right,
just
so
do
let's
picks
get to
and-
just our game picks, and let's make it quick because we've just given a preview of all the games. So let's start Cleveland. Okay, here we go. Reid, take it away.
Yeah, I told you guys I've been flip-flopping on this pick all week long. I'm going to ride with the better overall roster, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Oh,
Elliot.
there we go.
I will also go with the Cleveland Browns.
Casey.
I'm going with Cleveland.
Okay, and I can't even remember who I picked.
You got Houston.
I got Houston. I
got
think
the
that
fighting
I
CJ
think
Strouds.
I think the Brownies being favored in that game it doesn't make any sense to me. Makes no sense.
You think the Brownies can win the AFC?
I do. But I'm just saying a 2-point favorite, if I'm betting this, which is what we're doing in these picks, if I'm betting this, I'm not betting the Browns to go in there and cover 2. Okay, next up.
All right. We got the Chiefs hosting the Finns.
All right.
As I said earlier, I cannot see a world in which the Miami Dolphins win this game in negative 30-degree weather. Minus 4.5. Go ahead and give it to me. I'll take the Kansas City Chiefs.
I will be placing my largest wager ever on the Kansas City Chiefs. This will not be close.
5 digits?
No, it will not be 5 digits.
Not 5
It will be in the 3 digits.
6 digits?
No, it'll be 3 digits.
Yeah, I'm also taking the Chiefs.
And I'm stepping out on a limb.
This is surprising, Thom.
I am stepping out on a limb. That number 4.5, that's a big number. I gave the reasons earlier why I'm going with Miami. I'm taking Miami to cover. Not necessarily to win, cover the 4.5.
All right.
Now on to Sunday. Buffalo v. Men of Aluminum.
Exact same rationale.
9.5.
I'm not going to touch this game, betting-wise, with a 45-foot pole.
Well, then you really don't believe what you think then.
Well, I think that the Bills are going to win this game, but 9.5 points is a lot of points with 60-degree wind. I don't know. But if you're going to twist my arm and make me bet, I will take the home team. I'm going to root for the home team.
If I had to bet my life, I'd pick the Buffalo Bills, which I believe is what I did here. But saying that, again, Allen 0-3. 0-3 with double-digit favorites this season. I don't think they cover. But if I have to bet my life on it, I'm obviously going to ride with them over Mason Rudolph. I'm not going to die on the Mason Rudolph hill. That's for sure.
I mean, this is just such a terrible weather game. It's got to be the Steelers, guys. It's just got to be. I mean, I don't think they're going to win, but this is going to be one of the lowest scoring playoff games that we probably ever remember.
There's a strong chance the Steelers run the football 55 times in this game if they have the ball enough, or call it 50. I'm going with the Men of Aluminum. I think they covered the 9.5. I'm with most of you guys. I don't necessarily think they win. They can win, but I think this is going to be low scoring, and I think the Steelers are going to run it and cover. Okay, then we get to tomorrow afternoon. Packers v. Fighting Jerry Jones.
I don't think enough people are talking about how good the Packers have looked over the second half of the year. They've over the second half, they beat 3 playoff teams. I think they're going to go on the road. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think they're going to cover a touchdown. So give me Jordan Love and that offense at least covering 7.
Same exact reasons. I ride with Reid. Same exact reasons. Let's go Pack.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers. I think the spread is too much. I think it's going to be a closer game than most people think.
Okay, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys.
You're being a contrarian, Thom.
I think they blow them out of the gym. I think something's different about Dallas this year. I'm not saying they're getting to the Super Bowl, but this isn't going to be a 1-game or a 2-game choke job.
Can I ask for a favor?
Yes.
If the Packers win this game, let's say it's embarrassing. Let's say they win this game by 14.
Yep.
Will you come in Monday with a Packers rant or with a Cowboys rant that say that they are the biggest frauds in the history of the
Of course.
Okay.
I'm happy
that's
to.
all I want.
I got to be honest,
Me and
Thom.
Stephen A.
You and Stephen A. That's right.
I got to be honest, Thom. I pretty accurately can pick who you're going to pick. You know, I always ask you, who do you want this game? Who do you want this game before we start the show? I pretty accurately can do that. You have gone the complete opposite.
That's because I've stunk up the joint all year.
In every single game,
You have.
you've gone the
I've
opposite.
stunk it up.
I'll calculate the totals after the season.
Other
You're
than the
not doing
Browns
good.
Texans, I would have put a large amount of money that you would have thought the Texans were going to cover.
Okay. All right. And now we got, and that's because of C.J. Stroud.
Correct.
I assume. Okay. All right. Here we go. The Rams at the Lions. Lions -3.
I think we're making a lot to do about the Los Angeles Rams. I think we're making a lot to do. I got the Lions at home. I think they're the better overall roster. I think the Rams are very young. They're better. They're well coached. They got the better quarterback. That tells me that you should take the Rams, but I'm taking the home team. I'm taking the Lions.
Rams are 7-1 in their last 8. Their only loss being a 37-31 loss to Baltimore. They have been absolutely incredible. One of the best teams in the NFL. I'm taking the Rams.
Case?
They took the Baltimore Ravens into overtime. 37-31. Ended up losing that ball game.
Punt return touchdown too.
Yep. I think the Rams are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. If you were to give them that win, they would have won 8 in a row. So I'm taking the Rams.
Okay. I don't even remember who I picked. Because I don't know. I don't know who I would take. I took the Rams. Yeah, I guess. I like the quarterback better. That's fine. I'm rooting for the Lions. I'm rooting for the Lions all the way through. The fighting Chris Spielmans. And then here we go. Eagles v. Tampa Bay in Tampa. And the Eagles, as poorly as they are playing, a 3-point favorite, which really surprises me.
Yeah, I think I got 2 hot takes for you. First off, I think the Bucs are not only going to cover 3, I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win outright at home. And then I think Nick Sirianni is going to be canned. I think that's the end of the Nick Sirianni thing. If they lose, Nick Sirianni will lose his job.
Well, then we're living in one screwed up world.
Well, that's what the Eagles have done it before. Doug Peterson.
They did it with Doug Peterson. Yeah.
Andy Reid. Chip Kelly won some games. They move off of winning coaches. Nick Sirianni's gone.
The other issue that would help Reid's point there is that the locker room is lost.
Correct.
So the locker room being lost, I'm going to take the Eagles here. I am not betting this game at all. Mr. Mo put in his parlay in the chat. He had the Eagles as the last leg. I would absolutely not do that because I don't believe in the Eagles. If you're going to force me to bet a game, then sure, I'll take the Eagles -3 if I'm under a gun. But I'm not betting that game.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable betting the coldest team in the NFL at this moment. I don't know if the Buccaneers will win, like Reid said, but I think it's going to be a close game. The Eagles had to run the ball all over the Bucs to beat them earlier on in the season, and that was without Vita Vea. I think Vita Vea is going to be playing this game, and I think the Eagles are going to have a tougher time on offense. So give me the Bucs in this one.
Okay, I'm taking the Eagles. Look, it makes you appreciate Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. When you look at this nonsense that goes on with some of these divas, A.J. Brown is right on near the top of the list, along with the clown out in Seattle. You can have Metcalf. You can have all those guys. You can have them all. Makes you appreciate the guys that we have here in Cincinnati.
Right.
All right, Jet rankings.
All right,
I'm doing it
this week.
All right, here we go. Everybody's waiting around for it.
All right, we'll rattle them off very quickly because we've gone over time. But, guys, I just want to thank you, as always, for being in our chat. We love you all. Sorry about the show that we couldn't get up earlier this week. We will have a free box lunch for you next week to make up for that. But without further ado, here's this week's chat power rankings. Coming in at number 9, what's a chat power rankings without my boy Randy G? Randy G, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tweeting us all the time. Elliot likes to make fun of you because you apparently can't spell. I think you spell great. So thank you, Randy G. Thank you so much for being in our chat. You're number 9. Coming in at number 8, Blackmore. I'm going to tell you a little secret, Blackmore.
Boo.
You're my favorite. I like the way that you tease Elliot. But we can't do nepotism here. We can't. I can't be. Got to be biased. So I'll put you at number 8.
Why does he beat down Elliot? He or she?
I don't know, but I like it. Derby Stardom coming in at number 7. Derby, as always, another fantastic week. You're great, a mainstay in the chat. We love you so much, Derby. You're coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, he's got Drew Sample as his picture. He will always be in the chat power rankings as long as I'm the one doing them. Thank you so much, Nick Mormon, for being not only a nut cutter, a member of Nut Cutter Nation, but for being a believer in Drew Sample. Drew Sample is the truth, and we know that. You and I, Nick, we're going to the moon. Number 5, he grinds the pepper. It's Sir Boy Wonder.
Yes.
He grinds the pepper. Congratulations on starting your own show. I'm sorry I didn't watch it last night. I'll be sure to tune in here soon. I know it's going to be great stuff. Sir Boy, as always, you brought your A game this week. You really did. You really did bring your A game. It was nice to have you back in the chat. Yeah, I know you had a new job and you haven't been around as much recently, but we love you for being in this week.
Tyler Dawley, by the way, says it's the same tired 10 every week.
Clearly he didn't.
Then you got to get involved. You got to get involved a little bit more, Tyler. That's the bottom line. We're talking about guys that are consistent. They may not hit the home run ball every time, but they're getting on base.
That's right.
And they show up and they play. They're in the lineup.
You could say the same thing about college football. You could say the same thing about the NFL playoffs. It's the same teams because they play the best.
Okay.
You got to bring it. You got to bring it.
Okay. Tyler says he's here every day.
Tyler, we love you. If you want to be number 10, you can be number 10. Number 4, the superstar, Mark Fetters. He is a man of Michigan. Congratulations on your Michigan Wolverines on winning a national championship this week, Mark. We know you're very happy about that. Hail to the victors. You are one of the victors, Mark.
That's right.
Victors. Give me a...
So thank you so much.
Did you hear them sing for "She's a Jolly Good Fellow" after they won the national championship? That was a great clip. Did you see that? Thom saw it.
Move on.
Coming in at number 3, it's Everett. Everett, you are the compass of this chat.
Number 3.
You keep us going north.
Wow.
You keep us going north, Everett.
Everett has sent me off the reservation 2 weeks in a row, and I love Everett. I think he's found certain buttons, and he's just trying to hit them on a regular basis.
He was number 1 last week for me. I guess Reid doesn't like him very much.
I love Everett Ramley.
Doesn't seem like it. He dropped you 2 spots. But
coming in at number 2, it's Haro. Haro hasn't been this high in a while.
I agree. This is a good pick.
Why is he at number 2?
Because he brings his A game every single day, Tom. Every single day. You know what? This is. You know what?
You have to literally take your fingers and scroll like 7 times to find him.
No, he's right here. Look.
I know he's just on the one. He's right there right now. But I'm saying
But
I have a hard time finding him most of the time.
But
Tom's going to slander you, Haro, not us. Not us
me.
on this side of this,
Not me.
this room, the comedy corner over here. We love you, Haro.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 2. And number 1, she's maybe the best detective in the world.
boy.
It's Molly.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
Molly.
Reid gives it to himself.
Proud Hamiltonian. Molly, thank you so much for being in the chat every day. You keep the guys in check. I think I need to bonk you on the Joey Votto stuff sometimes, but congratulations. You are the chat member of the week. Number 1, Molly.
Molly, I love that mask. She's
Sir Boy,
looking good.
$2 super chat. Thom grinds the pepper.
That's our guy, Sir Boy.
That is.
That's our guy. I want to tell everybody, great job this week. Reid, Elliot,
Thank you.
great job.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
Great job. Casey,
Thank you,
great
Tom.
job. Lindsay, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here. All right, we're going to start having you, instead of sitting like a statue over there, we're going to have you starting to move a little bit here as we get going, okay? You got 1 week under your belt. Everything good?
Yeah.
Okay. No issues? Sure?
Tom, are you trying to pay the compliments forward? You give us all compliments.
No.
You go home and
No.
and maybe Mrs. Brennaman will give you a compliment or 2.
I have to go to a funeral
Oh,
here in a few minutes over on the west side.
okay.
Over on the west side. Today.
Catholic funeral?
And
In a church?
yes, but I don't think it's Catholic service. Spring Grove?
Doesn't sound like a Catholic church.
It doesn't sound like a
No.
Catholic church.
I'm sure it's not. But anyway, a huge Reg fan. Mr. Trich and family, we're sorry for your loss. And anyway, but heading over there. And so by the time I get home, she's got some night planned with a couple buddies. Ha! She ain't walking in. Boy, Tom, last night when she left and they drove up to Columbus, her and my daughter, they had to do something up there. There are very few things in life I dislike more than putting up Christmas lights.
What?
But I put them up, and I do it begrudgingly, okay? But ours have still been up. So I thought, you know what? This is going to be really nice. While she's gone, I'm going to surprise her, and it's a beautiful sunny day. I'm going to take them all down. When she pulls in the house, everything is going, all the lights, and there are a lot of them, going to be out. So I actually did get a nice compliment from my bride yesterday for that. So, Pauls, thank you. All right, here we go. Is Box Lunch coming up?
It is.
Yes,
Casey.
You're the host.
That's right.
Here we go. Box Lunch. Have a great weekend.